Leinster getting away win at the Scarlets. Goodness gracious me, folks. Got up this morning in NZ, picked which URC game to watch. It was either Glasgow against Benetton or the Scarlets hosting Leinster. I had a look at the team sheets, and there's a few names on that Leinster lineup I did not know. And Scarlets are at home, so I figured maybe this will be relatively close, but no. Interestingly, if you look at the stats, a lot of the areas are remarkably close, but I guess that's why you have to watch the game sometimes, because the stats do not tell the full story. But anyway, we're going to go through some of the key events, the stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one went. URC games, the upcoming November games for you guys in the States are all on Flow Rugby. So if you want to watch all the internationals in November, check the link in the description for you guys in the US. Quite the start for Leinster. Goodness gracious me. This guy Chris Cosgrave, I don't know him. Does he play like age group rugby for Ireland? I don't know. I feel like his name's vaguely familiar, but I wouldn't want to hazard a guess. Yeah, he gets a try before the clock even hits a minute. So, pretty nasty start for the Scarlets. Pretty well worked play from Leinster. So it's 7 points to nil. Although, to be fair, despite that early kind of punch, the Scarlets guys rose to the occasion, I thought, which might sound surprising given that scoreline, but they really pushed Leinster back, into their own 22. Eventually, they did concede a penalty in Leinster's 22. Like, they couldn't quite break Leinster down, but they at least, gave a bit of a good showing, because Leinster comes to town, you don't want to be conceding a first-minute try, but you need to show that you're up for the fight, and they were initially. The momentum did go back Leinster's way, which is kind of to be expected, but then the Scarlets did what Leinster had just done to them. Leinster went like 17 phases, went close to scoring, but then couldn't get it done. So it was still 7 points to nil. And then the Scarlets hit back on 20 minutes. Steph Evans, a pretty nice try. You got Combeer going down the left wing 1 minute, and then they ship the ball the other direction, and it's Steph Evans going on the other side of the field for a try pretty much unmarked. So 7 points to 5. The conversion gets pushed wide, but it's a 2-point game. Crowd's getting into it. It's been a nice try. Maybe we're going to get a game. Well, that's the last points scored for the Scarlets, guys. So, it only took Leinster a matter of minutes to hit back to Scarlets. Hit back, unfortunately, for a Scarlets point of view. But great for Leinster. I mean, it's a kick and chase, which, if you haven't seen it, you can describe it. It's weird. It's the right winger. This guy, again, Rob Russell. I think, when I looked at the team sheets on the URC website, a lot of these guys don't even have pictures. Like, they're just black silhouettes. They've got the picture of the player next to the name. I mean, they've got Jason Jenkins still in the kit. That needs to be updated. But, yeah, some of these guys don't even have profile pictures. Russell kicks it ahead. His hooker is chasing it. It goes off the head of the hooker who's trying to gather it. So it gets headed forward. And Russell is able to ground it. Pretty phenomenal piece of skill. The heading of the ball is obviously totally unintentional, but not a knock on. They had to check for that, and a good conversion from Ross Byrne, 14 points to 5. So, yeah, man, just as the Scarlets were getting a foothold back in the game, Leinster take it back away from them. I was loving, from a Scarlets point of view, Tom Rogers. Like, the guy's got proper work rate. Like, there was a bit of a kicking duel. He gets involved in it, kicks, and then he's chasing down his own kick, really as fast as he can go. He's the one who makes the tackle on the Leinster receiver. So you got to love that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing as a fan that makes you root for certain players. Like, work rate like that is pretty impressive. A bit of handbags on 37 minutes when Ruddock cleans out Gareth Davis. Just a penalty, nothing doing. Scarlets, with that penalty, have a chance to attack Leinster before half time. But they're not able to get anything out of it. So, I mean, the halftime stats, man, there's been like 2 clean breaks to 1. Scarlets have got the 2. Defenders beaten as 8-7, so not much in it. Leinster are slightly edging the position and territory. But key point is maybe that Leinster are making Scarlets make a lot more tackles, which over the course of the game, you think might be telling. Scarlets did have a fair bit of ball down Leinster's defensive end in that start of the second half, but Leinster were able to just kind of always push them back, eh? Like, Scarlets would end up having to opt for the kick. Like, Dan Jones kicked and regathered one, but then they got pushed back again, so they had to kick it again. So, yeah, kind of hard to get that clinical break where you actually, get a try-scoring opportunity. Whereas Leinster goes straight down the other end. A maul, phases, and this guy, Thomas Clarkson, goes over a few phases after a maul. So 21-5, starting to look like pretty ominous times for the Scarlets guys. Obviously, Leinster chasing the bonus point. Ross Byrne getting the line break. When I think Ross Byrne, I don't think line breaks. When he's getting the line break, you know you're in trouble. Scarlets end up putting in a high tackle. So it's a chance for Leinster, who've just previously had one penalty, one maul, phases and try, to do the same thing again. But I mean, obstruction at the line out from Leinster is kind of a get out of jail for the Scarlets boys, and they got pinged a couple of times for that. The referee was very sharp on any kind of obstruction by the lifters on the jumper when he's landing from lineouts. But Scarlets, I keep talking them up. They didn't get many points, but Johnny McNichol behind the back pass to Combier, tears down the left wing, kicks it through for Evans. Evans gets close, but this guy Cosgrave is the first man to get back to it. So, keeps the Scarlets limited those 5 points, but it's a nice wee moment. And then it looks like it's going to go to custard for the Scarlets guys, because they end up getting Dan Jones yellow carded for offside, and he's been offside a fair bit. And then McNichol with a deliberate knock on, which ends up as a penalty try. Leinster spinning it wide. Scarlets back on their own try line. McNichol bats it up to try and stop it, but it's a deliberate knock on. They reckon he wasn't going to catch it. It was pretty... I mean, it's one of those ones, isn't it? He would have liked to caught it. If he'd caught it, he would have been away, but no. So he gets yellow carded, and it's a bonus point try via the penalty try for Leinster. So 28-5. Scarlets got two guys in the bin. They got 10 minutes, pretty much 10 minutes, because it was within a minute of each other, of 15 v 13 against Leinster, who's already on 28 points. You're thinking, man, Leinster could run in 3 tries here, but they get nothing. So, well done, Scarlets. You actually probably played some of your best rugby, showed your most heart when you were down to 13 guys. They just kept it tight and made the Leinster guys concede penalties at the breakdown, coming in from the side or off their feet and whatnot. I mean, to the point where Leinster get a yellow card just for too many penalties conceded. So it goes 14 v 13. The Scarlets go a load of phases, but of course eventually they cough the ball up. So they really lack that clinical edge. Leinster is a hard team to get that kind of final break to score, aren't they? So, I mean, the Scarlets come back to 15. They don't concede any points during the 13-man period, which is positive. But then they start conceding penalties when they're the team with the man up, when it's 15 on 13 in their favour. 72 minutes, there's another penalty try from another maul. Gareth Davis gets carded, so it's 35-5. The crowd's getting pretty deflated by that point. The game ends with a knock-on from the Scarlets guys, which is maybe summing up their day at the office. I mentioned the stats, like 52-48 is the possession in favour of the Scarlets. The territory is 53-47, but as I mentioned, it's that clinical edge, that play, that pass, that kind of properly breaks down the opposition defence, which was lacking. Run meters 319 to 375, Leinster edge that, so a little bit more effective with ball in hand. Defenders beaten is 16-17, so nothing in it. Clean breaks is 5-3 in favour of the Scarlets. But the Leinster maul, is pretty tough. The Leinster line-out was a lot better as well, 10 from 10, whereas Scarlets 10 from 15. Scarlets discipline, man, 13 penalties conceded to Leinster's 8, 3 yellow cards to 1. Yeah, tough day at the office for the Scarlets guys, man. So, well done, Leinster. Goodness gracious me. I mean, the only thing from a Leinster point of view is you'd be like, you guys had 2 guys up and you looked like you were struggling. So that was maybe the only thing that will overshadow an otherwise pretty good performance from a bunch of guys who maybe don't get that much game time, but still stood up and got a pretty good win. I mean, Combier for the Scarlets, 2 clean breaks, 4 defenders beaten. Struggled a couple of times under the high balls, dropped a few. Dan Thomas makes 15 tackles, but I mean, it's all about the Leinster guys, isn't it? I mean, Ross Byrne, clean break and 3 defenders beaten. Cosgrave, clean break, 80 run meters, top of the bunch. Max Deegan was everywhere, 14 carries for 71 metres. He's the second most metres of the game from a loose forward, like proper effort. Scott Penny, 23 tackles, huge defensive shift. So, yeah, man, Leinster, they got pretty good depth, don't they? Now, the URC takes a wee break for these two teams. They won't play again until the end of November. The Scarlets guys are away to the Stormers, so a South African trip awaits them. Maybe the trip away will do them good. The break, the trip away, do them a bit of good. And the Leinster guys, they are home to Glasgow. So we'll see how they go in a month or so. But you guys let us know your thoughts. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Together.